Whether you're leading for the first time, leading through change, or learning to lead all over again, this space is for you. No fluff, no gimmicks, just real talk from those who've led through challenges, adapted under pressure, and thrived in the face of change. Welcome to Command to Corporate, where leadership isn't just taught, it's lived. Let's get to work.
Alrighty, welcome back everyone to Command to Corporate. I'm LP. He is T. T, how are you doing?
Nah, I'm all right, brother. Already had the gym knocked out, and I'm ready to go.
Yep.
You?
Same. I didn't go to the gym, but I did go on a nice long walk. I spent this, I guess, over the last week increasing the cardio since it's cooler in the morning. So I've been
Oh
getting
yeah,
out and running
yeah.
in the mornings. And one thing I found in research is like, instead of running at a pace where you start to huff and puff through your mouth,
Mm.
is to keep it low and steady and go longer, but where you're just breathing through your nose and you can talk. And
Oh
so
yeah,
I've been
no,
focusing that where I can actually, it's a slow run. So it probably
yeah,
doubles my time, but since it could potentially be more effective, so I'm like, well, let me try it out. I'm always trying new things. So I said, um, you know, we'll see how it goes.
sure. And then whenever you want, you could up the speed a little bit,
Oh
I
yeah,
guess.
always up it up, yeah.
Sure.
So I'm gonna try to do maybe a little bit longer, but trying to keep it around the 30, 45 minute mark. I'm not getting ready for any marathons. And, it's crazy. From all the time that we spent in the military, waking up early, running, I don't mind waking up early. If I naturally wake up, fine. I haven't been a big fan of running since I got
Really?
into the military. No, no
That's
way.
where me and you differ.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed running.
No, man, but I still just trying to keep in shape for sure. So got
Healthy
to do it.
lifestyle. Oh yeah.
That's right. That's right. Got to keep it going. All right, so we're back at it. Now we're on to episode 3, and today's
Hmm.
episode is on trust as the currency of leadership. Trust as the currency of leadership, and we have talked about trust so many times, and how important it is when it comes to leadership. So rightfully so that as part of this new series of trainings that or episodes that we're going through, potentially trainings coming out later, that we jump into the topic again. So we'll jump right into it. Why is trust foundational to leadership?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's somewhat of a given, but I think for some that don't, well, from what I've seen in the civilian sector,
Mm.
and even in discussions, it's not something that's just as, I don't want to say natural or embraced or all of the above. It's just not. Because I've been with leaders that'll say, when they think about trust in a new team, it's just like, well, for me, it's going to take a while to earn my trust off the bat. It's going to take a while to earn that trust. I need to see this, that, and the other. And it's like, why do I have to start off in the negative? Whereas on the flip side, in the military, it seems like because everyone is mission driven and everyone is like, I know we all have a common goal. We have to get this done. It's like, I'm here to execute what you want from me, LT, command, whoever it is, sergeant, whatever you need, because we're all here for the same goal. So I'm off the bat going to assume you have my best interest at heart. You're leading me the right way. I'm just here to get it done. What do you need me to do? It's all for the greater good. And unless you do something to for me to lose that trust, it's
Mm.
just brand new team, haven't met each other, new member come into the team. It's like I met everybody. Okay, what's the game plan? Already trust is there.
Yeah.
Unless you do something to not. Whereas in the civilian sector, even leaders amongst their own team, I don't trust you. The trust, it's not even a topic that's really discussed.
That's a really good point. I never looked at it that way, I guess, and I've never really reflected that deeply on it. But yeah, I think in the military, I definitely it's trust is almost, yeah, it's assumed it's going to be there. But you're right. I think in the corporate world, or the air quotes civilian world, not necessarily so. I guess I think a lot of people are out for their own. sometimes forget the team maybe. But that's interesting. I think you're right. That's the, but is that a culture thing maybe?
I,
That might be
I,
it. I don't know.
I mean, I do see it come up in culture talks
Mm,
that needs to be strengthened and improved. But I
yeah.
just think that it's an issue when you don't even know me and you're automatically, I don't trust you. And it's like you
Yeah.
just met me.
Yeah,
Like
that's
why
true.
why why do
Yeah.
you assume that, already assuming
Yeah.
the negative, and I have to earn it versus
That's
just saying,
true.
hey, we're a new team, we're here to work. All right, guys, let's put all the cards on the table. Okay, what are we gonna do? It's
Yeah. I've
almost like,
lived that.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you have?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of told you about that. Like maybe I mentioned it before, where new job and this person is just basically straight
Oh
up said, "I
yeah.
don't trust you." Yeah, and it's just
And
like, whoa, that's the first for me. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you don't even know me that well, and for a person to kind of say, "I don't trust you," that was like painful to hear. Because I went through my entire life trying to do the right thing and just kind of be trustworthy,
mhm.
but come to the civilian world and somebody just kind of say, "Yep, no, I don't trust you." Um, it hurts a little bit. It's weird, but it hurts
Yeah.
because it's like I've never been told that, but they don't know me yet. And I guess you're right. I think civilian world trust has to be earned, um, and it takes work. Yeah.
And for those that are tuning in, definitely would like to hear your comments on why do you think that is? Why is
Mm.
it that off the bat people don't? Is it like, are they worried about someone outshining them or making them look bad, or uh, all of the above? But then again, you still don't know what the person's capable of, and
Yeah.
or if you're on the fast track and you're like, well, I'm going to be the next manager, and you're not going to take this away from me. It's like, just do what you got to do, and
Mm.
as long as you're doing the right thing, what does it matter? Like,
Yeah.
just worry about yourself. And I mean, you could still uplift someone and help them to do better and look good, and still not be threatened by it. But
Yeah.
it's crazy in the. I think that's one of those things that coming into this civilian sector took me aback. Like, what is going on? Why is everyone like this? And sometimes it comes off in the form of that lack of trust in the form of attitudes and
Mm.
things like that. And it's like
Hmm.
we need to be professionals. Like, why are you acting this way? Like, where's
Yeah.
the, as we talked about in the past, the professional maturity amongst colleagues? And then when you have leaders behaving in a certain way, where's the leadership maturity? And people might, if if you were to call out people and say, look, we're all supposed to be adults, we're supposed to be professionals,
Mm.
and it's like, what are you saying I'm not? And it's like, well, if you're carrying on like this, yes, yes, you are. You're not.
And I guess you can't really blame people too much because they've probably been burnt so many times, and that's why they don't trust people. It's kind of it's sad, But if after so
It
many times you've
is.
been burnt, and it's like, oh, I don't, all my previous supervisors were not trustworthy, or they had their own agenda, didn't care about the team. So then, yeah, I can see where that's coming from. I guess when it comes to some people, fair.
So that's a good point. So that leads us to the next one. How quickly should leaders try to build trust with a new team?
Yeah, right off the bat, that's easy.
Yeah, right
It's
off the
easy
bat.
said, right? But like, what does that look like? I guess.
Yeah.
To me, I think the first sign of just kind of fostering trust is
Hmm.
when you sit down with your team and listen, and especially sitting down one on one and listening to what they have to say, right?
Hmm.
Be curious about their job, be curious about their personal life, be curious about what they want to do in the future. I think right off the bat, you want to tell them like, hey, we're in this together. I have your back. We're gonna, have to work together. So we have to trust each other. That's the way I kind of right off the bat try to foster trust. Because asking what do you want from me as well. So yeah, what about you? How would you do it?
I think in the past, what I've done is through that open dialogue in the beginning,
Mm.
tell me, like a lot of times I said, tell me what you like about working here, what you don't like.
Ah, Okay.
and understanding, okay, uh, maybe expressing, here's my leadership style, here are my
Mm.
expectations, and here's how I would like to be able to help you, or not. Like you're writing it down. Okay, thanks for letting me know. We'll see what we can do about these things. And depending on how many people you have, that could be quite a bit. But I think that
Yeah.
initial discovery, let me just understand what's going on. Let me understand the culture. Let me understand the work dynamics, how people are getting along or not getting along, and then try to step in and get those quick and easy wins as a leader. I think
Mm.
you have to show that you can be relied on, that you're a person of your word. And I
Yes.
think that's where you get in there and really try to make a difference with those things that are in your control early.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
in those things that you can't, being transparent and saying, you know what, I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to be very tough for me to do. But here's what I can do. The closest thing I can get to is this. And some things will be uncomfortable for people. And you can say, and it also saying that like, things are going to be tough. Maybe responsibilities as I evaluate everyone's work. Maybe things will be reallocated and changed once I've settled in, learned, listened, all of that stuff. Not off the bat. Take some time and then say, okay, here's what I think we can be more efficient. And you may talk to people one on one and say, hey, this is what's coming. Um, but the ultimate goal is to get those wins and to get them to see the benefits and the positive out of change, if there is to be change, or if you can uh, get some type of improvement.
I like that. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, what are signs that trust is missing on a team? I think we see that where people just don't. I'll give an example. I remember working at a place and it felt as if the manager, so there was a day shift and a night shift. The manager typically spoke to only day shift. I was on a night shift at the time, only talked to them for guidance and brought them into the mix and not the full leadership team. And saying, oh, sometimes it's time doesn't permit that, which is understandable. But then it also seemed as if it was splitting and dividing the whole leadership group, all of the supervisors. And at one point, I told the manager, you're the reason that people are not, you know, having each other's back. You're creating a group full of individuals versus a team within the department.
Hmm.
I said, and it's evident. I said, we should be one
Yeah.
team. Things should cascade and flow back and forth. Everyone's input should be valued. But I think when you see it, is that people don't want to talk to each other. And there's a lot of attitude, whether it's ignoring, whether it's not greeting someone in the morning, whether it's these, very kind of the email link, the vibe in the email comes off as very bossy or dismissive,
Yeah.
or everything is escalated. As soon as there's something you don't like, instead of talking to the individual and try to work it out,
Mm.
it's automatically, I'm gonna go to my boss and complain so they can go tell someone else. And it's this whole big thing versus open dialogue and
Yeah.
communication and saying, how can we just work together?
Yeah. Everybody's looking out for themselves, and they're kind of almost hoping that the other person fails. Um,
Yeah,
that's how much distrust could like really damage a team. It's horrible, you know. But
it
I
is.
get it, you know. Like I've been in a situation where I stopped trusting people around me on a team, and then I just closed off. To be honest, I was like, man, I don't know if I can trust these people, you know. And so I just kind of stayed to myself. I wouldn't volunteer as much, and I just like, I mean, it doesn't inspire me to kind of really be my best on that team, you know, just
Yeah,
because I'm
you're,
like, I can't trust them.
and it does happen. And I've had that from employees in the past where they say, why should I? Why
Right,
should I put forth this extra effort? And it comes to a point where you don't even want to be there.
right,
It's a
yeah,
shame where you're just like dreading to go into work. And that's a sad state to be in when, it's tough for people to find jobs and and you got to go into this place and you're like, these people, I
Yeah,
got to
it's
go in there and deal
painful
with this. It is very painful.
because you start questioning every single word of every single person and every single action, and that just mentally exhausting. You're like, somebody says something, it's like, wait a minute, what does that really mean? There's probably
Hmm.
more behind it. Or somebody does something, even if they do something nice for you, you start questioning that. It's like, oh, there has to be an agenda behind this. It's yeah, it's this trust
And
is
that's the
really
thing,
painful.
thinking there's an agenda in a
Yeah.
toxic place. I hate to you throw out the word toxic loosely, but it
Mm.
starts to become that way where
Hmm.
it's like everyone is, there's silos and you don't want to deal with it unless it's coming from a senior person down. It's like there's no open dialogue. And then it's a shame when the leader doesn't intervene, like the ultimate
Uh,
leader doesn't do any, because they're more of maybe they're the type that just doesn't want to get involved, until it comes to them. They're just like falling back because maybe they're not that much of a people person to begin with, and so now
yeah.
you're allowing it to fester and allowing it, and you're not even checking the pulse of the team at any point until you have to. So you're not engaging, you're not like, how's it going? You're just like letting it fester until it finally boils over into your space. Now you get involved. And it's like, now it's at the height of the problem where you could have nipped it in the bud. You could have set expectations off the bud. You could have said, don't come into my office with any kind of drama. If you do, then I need to look for other people. Y'all should be fixing this. Like, get in front of it.
That's tough. Yeah, because I've been in a situation where I caught one of my teammates in a lie, you know?
Mm,
And it just so happened somehow or another, like my boss found out about it. And I think deep down he thought, I was like, oh yeah, this was messed up, you know?
mm,
But like he just kind of said, he played it off. He's like, oh, I'm sure it was nothing, on purpose, or I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it. And now I'm like, holy shit, wait a minute. You knew about this probably yourself. That's what I started thinking,
yeah,
truth or
yeah,
not. And I was like, oh man, so I can't trust my boss now. It's ah, it's a virus, man, and it
it
spreads
is.
so
It's
quickly.
it is. And when you talk about a boss, and I think when a boss doesn't operate off facts and
Hmm.
they get caught up in the drama and the hearsay,
Yeah.
and
Oh my
and
god. Yeah.
they go off of that as if it's like fact, and I'm just shocked. I'm like, what role are you in? And you're coming to me off of gossip and drama, and literally will stand on it, will
Yeah.
stand on business as if it's legit. And it's like, are you out of your mind? Now I'm gonna have to drop facts on you that makes you look completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then to allow that to spread, that's a bad thing. As you're saying, allowing that virus, instead of saying, this is not true, we're not going to have this. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so then the next one is, how do you repair trust once it's broken? In our
So
last episode, that's that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
let me pause you there. How do you repair trust, right? So when
Uh-huh.
I called out this person on my team
Mm-hmm.
caught in a lie, he did not apologize. He's
Mm.
just kind of stood his ground, like, no, it wasn't that, or started making up excuses. And I tell you what, like to this day, I don't trust this person, you know. And so, yeah, number one, how do you repair trust? I think number
Mm-hmm.
one is acknowledging. All right, I apologize. I messed up. I didn't know what to say at the time. I just whatever. I said something to get out of it. I think that's perfectly acceptable to me. You know, like you tell me that, I'm like, okay, like you got caught in a corner and you said the first thing that came to mind. Cool. We've all been there, done that. Fine. But
Mm-hmm.
like to just now hold that as you stand your ground and that's the truth, even when you're caught in a lie, bro. No way. There's no trust ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm passionate about this point.
No, no. And I mean, rightfully so. And on our last
Yeah.
episode, we talked about how um, broken trust is like bad credit. It takes you a
Uh,
while to recover from that to get to that
yes.
good credit standpoint. And I think it's something that lasts
Mm-hmm.
because even when a person may apologize, but then the follow up actions are not supporting that, that becomes the issue. Or, they've lied. I mean, because, and you're just like, okay. And no matter how many times you keep going back when they have the opportunity to correct and say something and they stand on it and they keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Then after a while you drop it because you're like, well, the lies are going to persist. Okay. And then it's something else. And then something else comes up. And then they may at that point apologize, but it's like, well, what does that mean when you've done it for so long? And now you apologize, but then your actions don't support it afterwards. Now it's just lip
Yeah.
service.
Mm.
And it's like, and so going to how do you repair trust is communicate it, but then also have your actions support you
Yeah.
doing some type of improvement to reestablish trust. And if it's like, hey, I'm sorry, I did, you know what? Let me start off by and do something that maybe says, let me get back to it. Or here's why I should have been open and honest. I wasn't. I'm sorry. Here's what I
Mm.
can do. And
Yeah.
something to just level it out and give me an opportunity to consider trusting you again and go, okay, all right, I got that. I wish you would have told me a while ago. Okay, I get it. But now, hopefully, going forward, you can show me that you will do what you just did on a routine basis
Mm.
versus lying.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing you can do in
It
business. And for
is.
those that are listening, new leaders, if you don't know, just say you don't know. If you can't
Mm.
do it, just say you can't do it. It's best to do that than to blow smoke, fluff, fake numbers, whatever you want to do to look good in the moment, because everyone will know. It's not that they won't know, they will know. It's like just you don't want to be caught out there.
Man. Okay. Yeah. You're right.
And some people, I've seen them, they'll keep going with it as long as you allow them to. They'll keep
What do you
going.
mean?
They'll keep doing it in meetings. They'll keep putting on the fluff and all of that
Gotcha.
stuff and those
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
spotlight rangers every time just because they want that attention. Which to me is mind blowing when you have, uh, for lack of better words, grown people that do
Mm.
this. And I was just talking to my wife the other day. I'm like, we're not in high school. Why are grown people acting like this? It is mind blowing that you are grown, supposed to be a professional, and you act this way. It is mind blowing that people would literally do this.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So, so how does consistency build credibility? Well, we just kind of talked about it. It's like really just doing what you say you're going to do,
That's right.
and if you're, if you can't do something, you fail, you drop the ball, just off the bat, you're always like, hey, that's on me. And you see, where I see that in the civilian sector not happen is leaders not being leaders, where their team, yes, it's an individual that was responsible for the actions to get it done, but overall, you're accountable, or vice versa. How you split it, they're accountable, you're responsible, however it goes. And they don't do that. They automatically just point to the person and say, well, they failed. I'm gonna get with
Mm.
them. No, you're the leader. Actually, you failed because you didn't follow up, you didn't check with them and make sure all this, and then when it got down to the wire and your person didn't execute whatever, you put it solely blamed on them. For one, as a leader, those that are listening, you may think that, hey, I avoided the blow. You didn't. You look bad as a leader when you point to the person and you don't take that ownership. When
Mm.
you can, as a leader, when you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah. Yeah.
own a failure of your teams and say, you know what, we should have done better. You're not naming anybody. That's on me. I will follow up. I'll make sure it gets done. That's way more respectable to me than to say, you know what, T dropped the ball. I told him to do this. He didn't. I'm gonna get with him. Like you're
Yeah.
just saying, pushing it. Now you push it solely on him, and you took it, supposedly took it off you as a leader. No, that doesn't
That
work.
is really shocking. Like I've noticed that in the quote, air quotes civilian world.
Yeah,
That was like a really big shock to me. I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean you're blaming somebody on your team as a leader? Like that to me is unheard of. Like we that's not something we in the military experience. No, team
absolutely not.
fails, whoever it is, it's the leader's fault.
Yeah,
And I don't know, that becomes ingrained in you, but it makes you a better leader as well because you're like
yeah,
you look at your people and like, all right, somebody's messing up. I don't want to take the I don't
yeah,
want to take the heat round for that. So let me make sure they're not messing up. Let me make sure they're doing things right. And it kind of like encourages you and forces you to make sure everybody's doing the right thing. Everybody's doing safely, whatever it is that your job is. And so it's kind of nice when you own everything, you know.
yeah.
So you own the mistakes and you give credit for to the team for successes. Like that's another way of your team's like, oh, this guy's got our back, you know.
And you bring up a good point there with in leadership. So you do take on, when there's mistakes, failures, fail to meet a goal target. You as a leader, you take that on. We fail to meet our objective. We drop the
Mm-hmm.
ball. I will follow up, make sure it gets done. Here's what we're going to do to course correct. I know it's late,
Yeah.
but here's what we're going to do. Taking full ownership. On the flip side, when your team does well, you are also giving kudos to your team.
Yeah.
You say who on your team did well, who on your team helped to get that done, who led
Yeah.
the project, who was successful, and name those people. I say because that also makes you look good as a leader, because ultimately you are the driving force of that team's success. So when you say so and so did it, great job, let's give it up for them. That speaks volumes to you and your character as a leader. But some people don't. They're gonna tell me what you accomplished, okay, and then they take it and say, "Yeah, I drove this, I drove that, I," and it's like, you're a department one. What is this?
Yeah, that's true. Department of One.
Yeah.
I like it. But
So
yeah, I
what
think
role does? Oh, go ahead. I won't jump into next. What were you gonna say?
no consistency, kind of breeds, predictability, and predictability kind of breeds trust, and like I like consistency and if I know that as a leader, Larry's going to punish everybody the same way for the same infraction, if I know he's going to celebrate wins across the board consistently, like I know what Larry's going to say or do, and because he's
Mhm.
done it and he's consistent, it's across the board. No special treatment, no special consideration. It is what it is. The facts, boom. And I think that to me builds trust, where I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, he's predictable, like he's consistent, and that to
yeah,
me is my definition of another definition of trust or
yeah.
example of
Because even
trust.
amongst the people above you and the people below you, they know you can count on. They can count on.
Yes,
You're a
yes.
person of your word. And if they know if anything goes wrong, they're going to say, okay, let me really look into this because that's out of character for that person.
Yes,
So
yes.
they will
That's
really
true.
say, they'll dive in it. But I've been in
Yeah.
situations where, and this has even happened to me, I've very consistent, always deliver, always there to help. And then something happened. And the first thing that people thought, oh, it's his fault. And I'm like, you really
Mm,
think that? And became this whole big thing. Come to find, come to find out, no, I'm 100% correct, and every last person that said that was wrong. And here are the facts to back it up. But for people to just go to that, that goes back to that
mm,
trust. It's
mm,
like you, instead of saying, wait a minute, he's not in the room. We don't even need to have this conversation until he's in the room because that is not that type of person. I don't think this is the way it is. There must be a miscommunication. Let's
mm,
figure this out. Not, no, it's clearly he was at fault. No, you should know better. But then when you have teammates that you've been with for a long time, knowing the type of person you are, and then they do that, it's like now it goes back to that trust point. Well, now I can't trust you. because
Mm,
now that is an example of where you have now lost, I've lost trust in you if you were to do that in my absence.
yeah. Oof, that's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
So, what role does vulnerability play in trust building? I think we've kind of hit on that. That transparency, that being honest. If you can't do something, saying you can't, all of that falls into those categories. And people will say, at least you're honest. You're
Yeah.
telling me the way it is. Regardless of what you can and can't do, at least you're saying, I can't, or this is the way it is. Like, look, we got to suck it up. I fought the good fight fought the good fight. I've lost. And this is what it is. So we need to go forth and execute.
I think that's one of my superpowers, man.
Of what?
I built trust that way. I was like I'll straight up tell you, I was like, I have no idea
No
what it
idea.
is, or yeah, my vulnerability, I'll just expose like 24/7. I'll share them with you. Trust me. So yeah, but it's true. It really does work. Like people trust you a lot more and to say, oh yeah, he's not gonna give you fluff. Like if he knows, he'll tell you, and now your word means a lot more. You know, because like if he didn't know, if T didn't know, he should have tell you he didn't know. But if he does, be sure that he's pretty confident of that answer.
Yeah.
And that fosters trust, but also a lot of credibility as well in what you have to
Yeah.
say. And so it
Hmm.
goes back to kind of the discussion. You're quiet in a room, but when you say something, people are like, "Oh, let's listen to what T has to say or what Larry has to say." You know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And then how can leaders balance accountability with trust? And to me, we're all, your teams are going to be, you're accountable. Your teams have to execute. And I think that goes back to or one of the aspects going back to is when things don't go wrong, you take ownership of it. When they do, you give credit where credit is due. I think that all helps to, as a leader, you know, balance that accountability with trust. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think we kind of hit on it a little bit where accountability is just it's part of work. It's part of
Hmm.
what we do. Um, I'm accountable. My team's accountable. We're all accountable to somebody, one way or another. And I think if you hold, as a leader, you hold your team, each individual, the same accountable with the same accountability standards. So you're
Yes.
not gonna, no favoritism,
Yeah.
no special treatment.
Yeah.
Man, that goes such a long way because now people trust you. They're like, oh, he's hey, Larry told you, you mess up, this is what's gonna happen. And
Yeah.
honestly, this was probably not the brightest idea that I had, but it is what it is. But like, so when I sit down with like when I was in the military, I sit down with a new team, with a new person, especially like the really young um, soldiers in the NCO,
Hmm.
and I hit like the special targets of like, hey, you have to be technically proficient, tactically proficient, physically proficient, and all that good stuff. So I hit those targets of discussion, and then finally I close off like, listen, you know, if you violate the UCMJ or whatever, you mess up, like I'm not gonna show you any. I'm not gonna show you any special treatment. You know, this is I'm gonna treat you the same. It's standard punishment. It is what it is, and that's what you should expect from me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, probably not the smartest thing to have it in your kind of first one-on-one with people, but right off the bat, like people knew, and as long as I was consistent throughout the entire time, as a leader, I think people appreciate that and know, it's like okay, yeah, he warned me from day one, like literally,
Yeah.
day one meeting with him. So I found that to be helpful,
Yeah. I think
just
in that,
tell them what to
like,
expect.
yeah, like with the NCO creed, I remember one of my favorite lines is being fair and impartial when recommending both reward and punishment.
Mm.
So there's no favorites. And um, I try my best to treat all the team equally like that. There are no favorites. I remember having people below me in lead type positions say, we don't have favorites. We're not treating anyone special. That should not happen. But I've had it where some leaders, plenty of times, and I'm sure plenty of people can attest to this, you always see the same people going in office having conversations. And they start to become buddies. And, that's when the favoritism
Oh,
starts to come and all of this stuff.
yeah.
And then they gravitate to those people. Now you're trusting in their word and what they have to
Mm,
say. In the rumor mill, you're like, oh, I'm sure they have my best interest at heart. They're telling me the dirt and the gossip, and we're getting
mm,
closer and closer, and I'm loving this. When all the fact is, they could also have their own agenda. But because you're so blinded by, I don't know, having a friend or something, I don't know what it is, that you start listening and you're just like getting sucked into it. And I've had where I've heard that leaders have said, yeah, that's my problem. I end up having favorites through conversation, through gossip. And it's like, but if you know it, why are you doing that? Why do you do that? And I think I told this story early on when I had an employee come to my office all the time, chatting and everything like that. And I was fairly new in that role. And then I did stop him one time and said, hey, just so you know, I don't mind you coming in here chatting all the time. Doesn't bother me, not one bit. However, when it comes to me evaluating you on work, none of this matters. It's all what you do in your job. This is not getting you any points. This is not doing anything. We're just talking. So, just as much as I treat the person that doesn't come in here and talk at all, it's going to be the same way I treat you and you come in here and talk to me all the time. It's the exact same thing. And they're just like, oh,
yeah.
okay. All right. Okay. Well, then, all right. Well, I'll see you later. And it kind of slowed down a little bit after that because I'm like, I'm not going to do that. But there's plenty of people and there's plenty of people listening that are saying I'm guilty of it, but yet keep doing it. It's
Yeah.
like you got to change that. You
That's true.
can't allow that to cloud your judgment where you then show preferential treatment to someone because they talk to
Yeah.
you because you're becoming buddy. What about everyone else that doesn't? So now they get favor because they come chat with you. Really? For those out there that may find themselves guilty of it, say it out loud to yourself. I show favor because they come and talk to me. Sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. 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 No, you're right. But we're friends. What are you talking about?
I know. Yeah, we're friends. Yeah, no, no, no. Come on, let's keep it professional, people. Please, please do that.
It's hard
So
though
how
for some
it is
people.
hard, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like I remember telling a team that I had, like, don't think that a write up won't happen.
Yeah.
Everything's hunky dory. It hasn't happened at this point, but crap rolls downhill. So if I'm going to be put in a situation where it's now a reflection of what you did, yeah, I'm going to take it two bags full. I'll take the write up. You're right. We dropped the ball. Here's what happened. If I'm getting it, you're getting it because
Yeah.
ultimately, that's just the way it is because we all have to have some sort of accountability in this process. But don't let that then say, "Oh, now I'm upset with you and now have an attitude and all this," which I've had that happen where by the book, whether it's in the military or in a not, it wasn't not so in the military. People understood it way better in the military. It's in the civilian sector when people get written up and now they just have an attitude. They see it on their face. They don't want to say hi to you and all of this stuff. And it's like, it's just work. Did you not violate what is written here? Yes. According to this, you would get written up, correct? Yes. So I followed everything by the letter. It is work. You go on about your business. You learn from it. You don't let it happen again. That's it.
Yeah.
But it
I
takes a level of
mean,
maturity
yes.
and growth to be able to accept that.
And you gotta accept the fact that you may have some blowback. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just a fact. So when I was at West Point, I was in a leadership position this one particular semester, and I was essentially given military grades to to I think it was people. Was it? Yeah, it was my peers actually, which was fine. That's hard enough. But the problem is, one of them was my roommate. So I was assigned in
Mm,
military grades, and it was my roommate.
dang.
And yeah, so let's just say I gave my roommate less than average score.
Mm,
Yeah, it was ugly. Like, yeah, he was not happy
really?
with me. Yeah, he was not happy. He expected me to give him like a really good grade, And I was like, bro, like, come on, like, I trying to call him out his bullshit, and he still, obviously he was pissed, and like having to live with a person after that was just miserable because he just pissed.
Mm,
Eventually, we got over it, but yeah, it's that blowback sucked, because like now your roommate just not like, what the fuck, like, your roommate, you're together, and you think that's one of the most that's the closest person to you at school. And but yeah, like I guess my brain was just like 100% no, he doesn't deserve it, a good grade, and I did it, and then yeah, it was some blowback because of that. So yeah, it sucks sometimes.
yeah, I had an employee one time. He was doing like an additional duty. It wasn't anything um, for any kind of pay or anything, just like an additional responsibility. But he was owning it, like had pride in doing it, um, scheduling some overtime to come into a shift. And it started to become like a lot of drama around it. And,
Mm.
people perceive it as, maybe favoritism, only certain people, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, you know what? And I was pretty new in the role, pulled him into the side and said, hey, look, here's what's going on. I don't see this being really in your best interest. It was creating stress, all of this stuff. I said,
Yeah.
so I'm going to relieve you of this duty and hand it off to someone else. He was so upset.
Oh, I imagine.
Why? And I'm like, look, it's not. And I gave my reasons why, just basically got up, stormed out the office. And I'm like, okay. And so still handed it off to someone else. And I set new expectations and like, this is what I want to happen. I don't want to hear anything about it. And someone that was more neutral. After he reflected on it, he came back and said, you know what, I'm sorry for leaving out. I realized that you had my best interest at heart. And I do feel a weight off of me from no longer having to do this. But it was
Mm.
just that initial shock that he had to get over it. It's like, I'm not going
Yeah.
to do that unless there's a significant reason to doing it.
Right.
And then even across leaders and with teams, you will have to reevaluate your team's, their responsibilities, and you may have to rebalance and reallocate work based on the needs of the department and whatever current projects and everything. But I think, again, going back to that vulnerability to transparency and say this may happen, so just so you're aware, and it's nothing against you, but if one person is overloaded and I can clearly see that that is happening. So you are organized, you're scheduling your stuff, you're blocking your calendar, and things are now increasing in their space. I need to shift things. We will have open dialogue, but I think once you establish a strong team of trust, we got each other back, it will be way more acceptable when teams see that happening. Like, okay, yes, I will take that. I'm here to help you. So now everyone is like, I'm here to help you. I got you back. What do you need? And
Nice.
so I think that goes on to the next one is how do military leaders foster trust under pressure. And I think that's where we have people that you can rely on. So your team has your back. You know that if someone and multiple people know the same thing in the military. So that's a good thing too, is that if you have a squad, there's multiple people with the same job,
Yeah.
same MOS. So
Hmm.
when it comes to tactics, there's multiple, everyone's trained. And
Right.
so so that if something like you're splitting up your team, some of y'all are going here, so and so is in charge, but they already have a number two. So if something happens, next man up, next woman up. Same thing. You split them up, there's going to be that happening. And I think the only thing comparable in the civilian sector is having backups, where more than one person knows how to do something. And that may include you as the leader, covering down for a couple of items amongst your team. So it's not all just your team and put amongst them. You can also take some ownership in saying, well, how can I help y'all? Where you don't feel overburdened and you're not like, oh, so and so's out. Now I got to do their work. Well, then you as a leader say, well, if you need something, let me know. But I think ultimately having it balanced where someone's out, someone else can step in, that can alleviate the pressure. And it also can give people a peace of mind when they're like out on vacation. Well, the work continues. They're not coming back to a massive load unless it's like dedicated project stuff. Someone has their back without complaint, without worry, without agitation. I'm here for you. I got
Interesting. So I saw it a little differently. So to me, I picture you and your team are under a very high stress situation, whatever. It's like
it.
it's something critical, a report, whatever in the civilian world, in a very short time you have to develop this product. This is just an example. So that's a high stress situation. So the team, I think, is looking at the leader and is like, okay, is Larry going to be the same Larry that I know when there's no stress, or is Larry going to behave differently under this stressful situation? Right. And so I think building trust requires consistency even under very high stress situations. Say for
Yeah,
example, like report or deadline or whatever. And I think it's that's where it's even more critical to be mindful of, like, hey, I have to stay consistent. I have to be calm. I can't be rude to people. I can't, you know, whatever, be out of character. Because then now they say, oh, for example, T says one thing when everything's fine day to day, but he's a totally, completely different person
mm,
as soon as his boss tells him to do something, so now
yeah,
he freaks out. And so that's then they don't trust you then under high stress situation. But when they
that is a
see
good
you
point.
and they see you like, oh, T is still the same, I was like, oh, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So that's the way I interpret that.
Oh, that's pretty good though. All right. I think both of them, lots of
Mm.
value there. So, what are the three C's of trust you can rely on the most? And for those listening, and we had to look it up too, it's like, what are the three C's? Competence, character, connection. So, what are the three C's of trust you rely on the most? Or what I would say, which of those three
Mm-hmm.
C's do you rely on the most? And what do you say? Just the word. Start with the word
Character.
first. Same here.
Character.
Character.
Yeah.
Character. We could have said it at the same time. Character.
Yeah. Next time. Yeah, I mean, it's as long as you're consistent in character, and then people will trust you. You'll trust the kind of person you are, the character that you have. And I truly, honestly believe that regardless of what situation you're in, even if you meet resistance initially, if you have good character and consistent throughout, people will eventually realize that and see that. You know, I think it's wrong. I don't think it's not wrong, maybe, but I don't think it's right. Where you automatically you're in a new position, maybe you're meeting a lot of resistance, and you try to change things about yourself. Maybe it's required. Me, I don't know, but to me, no. There's some things that I'll meet resistance in a new position, a new job, and it's important for me not to kind of compromise my character at all. I'm going to
Yeah.
stay consistent, and people will
Mhm.
see that eventually. So
Yeah.
that's why I chose character. Why? How
And
about you?
I would agree. When I look at character, I think standing firm on your character,
Hmm.
as you said, will lead to connection
Mm-hmm.
by having a very good character. And I think with a strong character, you don't always have to be the most competent in a subject. As
Mm-hmm.
long as your good character says, I don't know, or let's learn this together, it still goes back to your character.
Yeah.
And your character can give you, grace to take the time to learn it. But as
Yes.
from a leadership perspective, to me, to just say, I don't know, How about we? Because I've had leaders where they didn't know and they just don't answer. They don't say anything. And it's like, so is that a yes? Is that a no? And it's just, and then when you finally go to them, well, I didn't know. And it's like, well, you didn't say anything,
Yeah.
But I think having a good, reliable, strong character goes a long way. It's number one. And for those listening, what would you say? Competence, character, or connection? Drop the word in the comments. And if you want to give a reason why, please do. And if not, we'll tally it up. How many competence do we have? How many character? How many connection? Let's see.
Yeah.
Um, so, and then last one, what daily habits can leaders adopt to strengthen trust? And I think we've hit on it multiple times
Absolutely.
throughout the call. So I think for those listening, what are your thoughts on trust as the currency of leadership? Do you think that it is that important? I mean, we've dedicated
Mhm.
this episode to it. So what do you think? Definitely let us know. And I think with that, we will say thanks for tuning in to Command to Corporate. If today's episode gave you value, do us a favor, share with a colleague or teammate who is ready to step into leadership. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode, and connect with us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts for more leadership insights and resources. And until next time, lead with clarity, lead with purpose, and always remember mission first, people always. And we'll see you next time.